All right, hail and welcome to the debut episode of Hellbound Testimonies. This is the show where I talk to Satanists, listen to their story, and try to learn a little more about what they believe. I'm Reverend Odinson, an ordained minister of Satan, and here to testify today is Grimm. Hey, how's life treating you?
Pretty good, Ansgar. Hope you are.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing real well. I have a few questions here, and we'll kind of probe your thoughts and your ideas and beliefs and that kind of thing, and get to know a little bit more about your satanic story. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, were you ever part of a theistic religion?
Yeah, I was. I grew up Roman Catholic and was that until about 19 or so years old.
Oh, okay.
So heavy,
So quite
heavy
a while.
practicing too. Yeah,
Heavy practicing. Okay. All right.
yeah,
This-
daily mass and the whole bit. So,
oh, wow. So, what actually deconverted you?
the process started when I visited the Vatican and I saw an immense amount of homelessness, people in real despair right outside of golden cathedrals, and more wealth than some nations sitting in the basically the size of a big parking lot. And that wealth was doing nothing for them. I started to just see the grift of it all, if you will. And these people, which their religion purported to want to help and save and clothe the clothless and feed the hungry, they weren't doing it, and that's when it started. So yeah.
And that should have been like a big moment for you as a Roman Catholic, right? You're in the Vatican, right? The center of religious power. That should have been an amazing experience, but it sounds like it was real different.
It was what you would some would call a pilgrimage of sorts, and that should be the thing that kind of solidifies, your faith. And while there were many beautiful things, and seeing the Pope at the time, give speeches, it was very moving in those ways at the time as a 16-year-old, which is when I went. But yeah, it did not overpower the empathy I felt for those in despair that I saw.
Oh wow. It had to be some really beautiful things to see, I'm sure. There's amazing art there, but yeah, I can imagine how that would kind of change your view on the religion. It's one thing to say, feed the hungry and clothe the homeless. Is another thing to actually practice it.
Yep, exactly, and that's what
Right.
it came down to.
So, are you an out Satanist? Like, does your family know that you're a Satanist?
Some of my family does, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't have a Facebook anymore. I did used to kind of be a little more, I guess, advertised a little more than I do now that I am a Satanist. But
Hmm.
uh, yeah, my family is aware. Yep.
Okay. Are they supportive?
Not really. No, no. Whenever I have a bad day and I call my mom, it's like, well, if it wasn't for that Satan stuff, you'd be having a good day. So
I'm sure that is something that a lot of Satanists out there can can empathize with.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so, like, when did you first learn about Satanism? Like, where did like kind of Oh, okay. We all hear about Satanism growing up as kids, but we see Hollywood movies with human sacrifice and stuff like that. But like modern Satanism, as you know it now, when was the first time you kind of became aware of it?
Yeah, so the Satanic Temple came into my frame of view during 2020, during COVID. Everything was on lockdown, and Hulu at the time had a documentary called Hail Satan, and I watched it. And by the time it was over, it was probably an hour after it ended. I had joined their mailing list and ordered a card and officially joined the Satanic Temple at that time. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty badass.
yeah, it was. Yeah, there's nothing else to do but think, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, these people seem pretty cool. So yeah, I joined.
So that makes you a Satanist for what, 4 years now? 5 years now?
5 years now. Yeah, yeah,
5 years now,
5 years.
yeah. Okay. So what was it in that documentary that actually made you say, I want to be a Satanist? That's the religion for me.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been an atheist for many years before this, and there were some things that were attractive about it. One was the activism around opposing the Ten Commandments getting put at whatever capital it was. I can't remember the state, maybe Arizona,
Hmm.
um, the state capital, and they were opposed to that. And I think that's correct. I don't think that we should have one religion represented in our government offices. I believe if you're going to have one religion, you should have all who want to participate, or have none at all.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's constitutional. That's what we believe in a democracy. Um, so that part was very attractive. And then um, there seemed to be such a good community. These people are interacting. They're having fun. Doing that activism with a really badass aesthetic. So
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So do you now, having, deconverted from religion and become a Satanist, do you believe in anything supernatural at all?
not at all. No, nothing at all.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So no crystal healing, no vibes, none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I none of that. No woo here. I think you could make an exception for the idea around Einstein's God, where you stand on a mountain and you feel this overwhelming sense of connectivity to the world, and it's a very powerful. Some people call it a spiritual experience. I've
Mhm.
had those, right, standing
Oh
on the
yeah.
top of a mountain, and so I understand. I think of it very differently, I guess, but it's very moving and can be very emotional, experience. And if someone wants to call that Einstein's God and call it spiritual, that's fine with me. But I don't think it's magic that's come down to bless me particularly. I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's
when you
yeah.
mentioned that kind of Einstein's God, the first place I go to is Carl Sagan talking about that same kind of feeling, gazing out into the cosmos, in wonder. And he talks about the same, like there's something it's like a magical feeling about knowing that every single one of the atoms in our body was forged in stars and things like that. It's very, very cool, but you don't necessarily have to go, okay, well, that's a god putting a feeling in your heart.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's powerful. The realizing how small and insignificant I am in the universe is, I think, a very powerful and humbling experience. And like I said, some people describe that as spiritual, and I'm fine with that. But it's moving for sure. But beyond
Mhm.
that, no, nothing else.
Yeah, okay, cool, cool. Sounds like you and I are pretty aligned kind of in that regard. Um, so how would you describe Satanism? Like, what is it to you? Like, you're trying to describe what Satanism is to an outsider, someone who's never heard of it other than maybe some Hollywood weird stuff. How would you describe Satanism and what it means to you?
Yeah, good question. Uh, Modern Satanism, at least the brand of Satanism that I participate in, and I should say I don't speak for the Satanic Temple either. I'm a
Yeah.
member, I'm a council person, but I don't speak for the organization. But um, Satanism to me is a group of atheists. So we don't believe the devil is a real thing that exists in some ether, right? Satan doesn't exist in any sense other than a literary character of opposition to authoritarianism. Really, Satanism falls under the philosophical brand of humanism, right? And
Mm.
so our morals are self evident. We don't need a deity or a special book to tell us what to do. Um, Particularly, the biblical Satan character was opposed to authoritarianism. Do what I say just because I say it. Reject knowledge over obedience. Or rather, be obedient rather than seek knowledge. Um, and yeah, so that's really it to me. It's a form of humanism. Um, and the branding is I think relevant to the kind of current state of affairs, which I won't really get into on this, but yeah, I think we're opposed to kind of this Christo-fascism that's kind of been growing for quite a long time. I think it's a natural answer to that.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I like to think about specifically the revolt of the angels and the idea that, the literary Lucifer in that book says, I'm not going to conquer heaven, but I will be kind of like a thorn in its side to keep its power in check, right? Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, so how does Satanism like affect your everyday life, or does it?
Um, in some ways it does, being a part of the community, talking with people, that's time spent, that's energy, thoughts, written down about what's going on in these conversations and what's going on in the world. So a lot of a good amount of time spent engaging with the community. um Outside of that, morally, it hasn't really changed anything in me. It doesn't. I don't have to go to a ritual every week, or anything like that to be a part of it. So it really hasn't changed anything in how I do anything. But yeah, more just being able to engage in a community, which is nice.
That's rad. I feel that. So out and about, do you just out of curiosity, do you wear satanic symbols and that kind of identify what you are?
Yeah, sometimes I have a couple shirts that I'll wear. It kind of depends. I am cautious of where I go, with what I'm wearing, because sometimes I just don't want the questions or don't want the looks, or if I'm out with my kids, I'm not gonna, you know, um, put myself in the line of fire in that respect. But sometimes, yeah, I do. Decals on the car, on the back. One could argue are satanic identifiers, but yeah, so loosely sometimes, yeah.
Fair enough. How do you feel about some of the more esoteric sides of, Satanism, mindfulness, meditation, rituals, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that they're important to some people, especially people that may have a similar background, right? I grew up Roman Catholic. There's a lot of people that are Satanists that grew up Roman Catholic, and ritual is a natural part of life, right? It's kind of ingrained, that this is what it means to be a part of a religious community. So I do think it's important. For myself, I don't get a ton out of it, in that spiritual kind of sense we were talking about earlier. I'll use that
Right.
word for lack of a better one, but so I don't get a ton out of it in that respect for myself. But when I see others getting something out of it and helping them maybe cope with some of the effects that they might have gone through with satanic panic, or maybe their family is not communicating with them because they found out they're a Satanist, and they get a lot out of this ritual and it means a lot to them. So I get a lot out of it in that others do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But you've never participated in like ritual and had that like religious experience kind of a thing.
Not really, no. Meditation would be an exception to that. I do like
Hmm.
meditating. I guess one of the words you could call is like burning offerings. You write down an idea, maybe something about yourself you're wanting to improve, and you light it on fire, this piece of paper, and let it blow up into the wind. I think it's a beautiful allegory of intention, and I think it's a great way to meditate as well. But I don't feel anything magical, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
from it. It's more just kind of setting your mind right, in a
yeah. Fair
meditative way.
enough. Okay. So I would imagine then you sort of identify more with the activist side of Satanism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that I do.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that activistic side? Like what is that to you?
Yeah, I think that representation matters, right? And when we speak up, and say, "Hey, we'd like to have a display of a satanic display at a Capitol building," or if we're going to have proselytizing children in schools by using the Good News Club, or I think that's what it's called, the Good News Club,
Hmm.
um, for after school program that proselytizes to kid, then we should be able to answer that and say, well, let's have um, a satanic after school club, which doesn't proselytize, by the way, but that is a non-theistic approach to after school for the parents that don't want, their children proselytized to. And I would welcome any other religion at that point to set up shop as well, right? Because that would be fair.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Oftentimes, what happens in these situations is we'll see boards back down and say, we don't want any religious stuff because now that we're seeing these people with devil horns on their shirt, uh, we don't want our kids to see that.
Hmm.
They were cool with the dude, dying on the cross, and bleeding out there, but when you see devil horns, it makes them reconsider, I guess. So
Yeah,
I
death
think that's
cult, all
important.
good, but Satanists, no, no, got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, yeah, it's like we're cool with the dead guy on the cross, but you guys have goats, and I don't like those black goats. So, and when they say, "Hey, no religion," we're like, "Hey, cool, that's fine," because
Hmm.
it's kind of the point, right? Is kind of
All or
answering
none,
this.
man. All or none.
Yeah, yeah, pluralism is important. So,
Hmm. All right. So do you have a favored tenant?
yeah, so yeah, we have 7 tenets. My favorite one would be the first one, which is to treat others with compassion
Mm,
and to the best of one's ability. And that's always been a tenet of mine before 2020 rolled around and I joined TST. Uh, Compassion is an important word in that tenet, because um, compassion is empathy with action, right?
mhm.
And when you see someone that needs some help, or um, I've been in a position where I've needed help, and I've been very lucky to have good friends that helped and stepped up and helped me through something. Um, which it goes beyond empathy, just feeling like, "Oh, man, that's terrible." Reaching out and helping one another, is what a community is supposed to be, and so, I love that tenet because, it should and I'm glad it's the first one because being compassionate to one another is kind of the human experience, what it's supposed to be about anyway, I guess, in my point of view.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah, I totally see that. All right, all right. So when you think of Satan or Lucifer, right? What does that literary figure sort of mean to you?
Um, One that rejects authority. Um I don't see, even in the Bible, the Satan that's depicted in the Garden of Eden or in the Book of Job, is not kind of the same Satan that Hollywood has imagined up for us. Um, I see it as an answer to, it's almost like a balance against, hey, this is uh, the authoritarian figure that says this is what you have to do, and this other figure comes in that's kind of lesser, right, and doesn't have as much power, and says, well, is that really the right thing to do? Is that really what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And so I think that idea that was captured in that story is an important one from the perspective of a Satanist, to say, hey, when we need to question power, um, in all its forms, be it activism, religious authorities, and so forth. There's so many authority figures, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's really the biggest thing I take from it, is question authority and push back when you need to.
All right. So, do you have a favorite book that you think of as Satanist or a good representation of, satanic ideals?
Yes. I lost you. Sorry about that.
All good.
Just a second.
Mhm.
Oh, I need to go. Sorry, I dropped my camera here. Can you still see me
Yeah,
okay?
I can still see you. We're good.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Book. Uh, The Little Book of Satanism by La Carmina. Um, is a wonderful introduction, a brief history of Satanism, with a foreword in it by Lucian Greaves, which is he's one of the co-founders of the Satanic Temple, and is a very fair, I think, and honest look at Satanism, the movement, as it kind of progressed through the centuries, including modern Satanism as well, including Church of Satan and so forth.
Oh, okay, cool. So if there it was like one thing that you wanted, sort of, we'll say normies to understand about Satanism, what would it be?
Um, That's a good question. I think the obvious answer that we would give is that we don't worship the devil. Um, and Pokemon also is not the devil, by the way, Mom. That would be, that would be the probably the easy answer here. But I guess I would say, like, we're we are people in your community. We are activists, we are laborers, we are other drivers on the road. We're people too. And um, when people talk about Satanists, it often is like a kind of a catch-all, for the bad guy. We saw this during the Satanic Panic, or when people say, "Oh, a group of Satanists are having a protest." There, the connotations that come away with that from viewers can be very negative. So
Mhm.
the one thing I would say is, we're people too. We have families. We are active in the community. We participate in the community. Um, just remember, we're people too.
Nice, nice. Now, one last question here is, where do you see this religion or movement, if you want to call it, where do you see it going? And where would you like it to go?
Um, I Satanism has been growing, and despite the growth of kind of Christofascism in the area that we live in, whenever you have that kind of clamp down on personal liberty, you will find more and more people that say, "Hey, I'm not going to participate in that," and rebel against it. Kind of like Satan, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and so I do see the movement continue to grow, um, which I think is wonderful. We don't proselytize; people kind of find their way here. We don't find them, um, which I think is very important. Where would I like it to go? I I'd love to see more growth. I'd love to see, I'm part of the Satanic Temple in Wisconsin. Um, I would love to see it grow to the point where we need, multiple groups that are kind of breaking off and, kind of self-governing in some sense, where we have, a Milwaukee and then a Green Bay, for example, right? Because of the growth. Um, I think that's very far in the future, but if the movement continues to grow, I think it could, become that large and important. And the larger that we grow, the more we're heard. And whether people are participating in the esoteric side or in the activism side, it's a plus one for either way you come about the religion.
Yeah. Very nice. Well said, man. Well said. All right. So before we say our goodbyes and all that, do you have anything you want to shout out, some reading material you want to maybe suggest to people, or maybe you have a project you want to plug, anything like that?
I think I got a couple friends watching. If so, what's up, dudes? Thanks for tuning in. If if my mom found out about this, hey mom, uh, Pokemon was awesome. Please don't please don't think I'm terrible and don't burn any more Pokemon cards. No, I don't really have anything. I would plug again, La Carmina's Little Book of Satanism is the title. She's a well she's an author that writes it very well. Her it's very concise, easy to read, small book. So I would just plug that. I love this project you're starting, Ansgar. I think it's
Thank you.
wonderful, and I would just encourage people to follow or subscribe or whatever the button is on YouTube, to tune in to you. I think this is going to be really a cool project that you've undertaken. So I hope it
Thank you.
goes really well.
And just for everyone watching, if you do decide that you're getting some value out of this, I don't have like a Patreon or any way to pay me. In fact, I have linked several good causes down in the description, and just donate to one of those, and that will make me way more happy than a few extra bucks in my bank account anyway. So yeah, thank you for doing this with me. I love getting all kinds of different stories and finding out, how different Satanists came into this and how they, think about Satanism and stuff like that. And thank you, the audience, for giving us some of your time, and thank you for giving me some of your time, Grim. And until next time, hail Satan, and hail yourself.
Hail Satan.